you're probably picking up on a trend here. We seem to be more familiar with waterborne diseases. So Salmonella, not necessarily waterborne, but water is a component of infection. And we see there's two primary types of Salmonella that we should be interested in. There's typhoidal Salmonella, which only infects humans or primates. And then there's non-typhoidal Salmonella, about 2,300 serotypes. And with that particular non-typhoidal type, there's a wide host range. So not just humans or primates, but also cattle, horses, rodents, cats, dogs, birds, reptiles. That's why it's particularly important, say kids, young kids with pet turtles or even little baby chicks. It's very important that they wash their hands afterwards so they don't become infected with Salmonella. Non-typhoidal strains of Salmonella, they appear to be able to colonize plants, which is very interesting, including the types of plants that we consume. We see a lot of Salmonella infection in the U.S. Estimates about 1.4 million cases each year, plus that's reported plus non-reported, and some estimates that Salmonella costs about $3 billion with respect to medical costs and lost productivity. Probably comes as no surprise to you that symptoms of salmonellosis include diarrhea, fever, abdominal cramps, usually 12 to 72 hours after infection. And you're usually, unless you're immunocompromised or some other issues, you would expect to deal with that for about 4 to 7 days. And you can typically recover without treatment, so that might be why some folks don't go into the hospital. But the diarrhea and resulting dehydration can be very problematic if you don't stay on top of staying hydrated. It can also, in some severe cases, lead to a syndrome that it can lead to chronic arthritis and swelling of the joints in some individuals. So that's the non-typhoidal type of infection. But if you are infected with the typhoid version, so Salmonella typhi is what it's called, that results in what's called typhoid fever. Maybe you've heard of Typhoid Mary. She was an asymptomatic carrier, and if you want to learn more about her, I encourage you to Google NPR Radiolab, and they have a pretty neat feature on her and how she was really the subject of persecution. Yes, she did some things that she should not have done, but she was not the only asymptomatic carrier of that particular, of typhoidal Salmonella. So check that out if you're interested. In that case, that disease progresses through 4 main phases, but it includes fever, headache, cough, sometimes bloody nose, abdominal pain. You might have delirium, in some cases diarrhea, in some cases constipation. Yeah, so that's the big things I wanted to say about Salmonella. Let me make sure there's nothing else. So you can contaminate drinking water as well as food. We often hear about it contaminating our food, but you can also contaminate drinking water with Salmonella.